Okay, everyone, welcome. Tonight we are talking with John. He is an eBay, or he sells on eBay. He kind of popped up on our blog recently, and he got a lot of us excited because he's doing something that I think a lot of us have always thought about, but he's really doing it, and that's selling postcards. And that's, I think, important because, when we're all at auctions or yard sales, we'll always see those big boxes of postcards and wonder if you can make any money off of those. So that's what I'm excited about tonight. This is my learning experience that you'll be able to join me. So anyway, John, welcome tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, John, so let's start in a nutshell. Kind of explain what your eBay store is.
Okay. My handle on eBay is Spinach Eater, and my store is called Popeye's Postcards.
Got it.
And that's pretty much all I sell. I sell postcards, and for a while I dabbled in, kind of still dabble in antique dental books. I was lucky at one time to buy out a dental museum that was, I guess, getting rid of all their extra copies, and was able to use those proceeds to put in an in-ground swimming pool because it was very, very lucrative.
See, I love hearing stories like that. I mean, that's for real. I can totally see that being true, because if you're willing to go all in, those kind of deals are out there.
Yeah, at the time, it was the biggest purchase I ever made. My wife was out of town, and I had to walk away from the computer because it was like a $3,400 buy, and I was afraid that at the time I didn't want to go any higher. And I got it, and it was 210 boxes of dental books, and I made that $3,400 back in like 4 or 5 books.
Wow.
It was incredible. And I still have thousands of dental books. I just got kind of sick of eating or selling them because it's like a big bowl of grape nuts. If you ever had grape nuts, you pour milk on it and you keep eating and eating and eating and eating, and those grape nuts never go down. So, but anyway.
Okay, but just so we know, so that is interesting, and we will kind of get to that. But let's talk about postcards. So,
yes.
I mean, the reason why I think it's important for people to understand is that I guess if you really want to make money with postcards, it's about its volume. And
yes.
You have like 11,000 postcards on eBay, right?
It's actually with doubles, with multiple items. It's actually 12,500 and something.
Got it. And then how many postcards don't you have up? Like how many are in
Wow. I have
boxes.
Probably well over 200,000.
Wow.
Easily.
Yeah.
I probably have 15 plus thousand. I'm looking at my shelves now to see where everything is. I have it kind of organized. But I probably have about 15,000 postcards that all I need to do is take pictures. Of them. Probably about out of that 15,000, probably 3,000+ that are already sorted by states, and I'm just going to grab a stack and go with that.
Yep.
So I have probably about a year's worth of postcards just ready to go, and another, I don't know, 185,000 that I've already either sorted through or waiting to sort through. I have a lot of cards.
Talk about death piles. That's what we talk about on our show, is just talking about we have, piles of unelicited inventory, but that's to a magnitude it's hard for me to wrap my mind around.
Yeah, I sent you some pictures, and you probably see there's one shot of all these. They're stacked about 5 high on top of my shelving units here. Yeah, those are pretty much, I've already gone through most of those. When I go through a box, I pull out the ones I know are going to sell, and then I just leave the rest in a box, and I'll write on there sorted once, needs a second sort, and then that second sort I'll pull. I can always find more of what sells, but then there's these boxes up there. It's like 1,000 Niagara Falls postcards. No one wants Niagara Falls postcards, so I will eventually. Who knows? I might list a lot of 1,000 just to get rid of them. I've already made my money back on these postcards many times over, so I can get rid of them, for 10 cents, 5 cents, still get some money, but just get them out of the house. I just haven't done that yet.
Okay, and then just another number I like to throw out there so we can kind of ground this in reality and people can kind of get its perception of, what you're dealing with. So you have, about 12,500 postcards online. How much are you making every month, would you say, on average?
It kind of depends. The last 2 months have been terrific because I've listed a lot. And that's about 5,000 a month.
Wow.
But back in May, I pretty much just took the month off without listing anything, just let my store ride. And I think I had about 8,000 some odd cards at that time.
Yep.
And that was a little over 2,000.
Yep.
So just letting it ride, it was still a couple thousand, but it's when I get in and list 1,000 auctions a month, that's when I can bump it up to $5,200 or so.
Yep. And I don't want to make anyone feel inferior here, but you do this part-time, right? So you have a full-time job.
I do. I'm out of the house at like 6:20 in the morning, get home in the evening about 5 o'clock, get dinner ready, help my daughter with her homework, and about 7:30 or so, 7:30, I meander into the office and I start working. And I work till maybe 10 o'clock. Since I have to get up at 5:30, I need a lot of beauty sleep. But I guess I only average about maybe 6.5 hours of sleep a night. So yeah, I'm only really working just during the week, only a couple hours, maybe 3 at the most. But on weekends, Saturday, Sunday, if we don't have any family obligations, I'll put in 8 to 10 hours or more.
Right. And so none of your family helps you. You don't hire anyone. It's just really just you, right?
Yeah, it is 99% of the time. It is just me. I have a daughter and she's 10. And if she wants a new toy or a new doll and I'm not willing to buy for her, I'll hire her.
Yep.
And I pay her like 3 cents to put my return address on my postcard mailers and another 3 cents to put on the postage stamp.
Yep.
So I have boxes of 500 mailers, and I said, if you make it through this whole box, that's $15. And I got 4 more boxes behind it. So if you want to all day today stamp, you'll earn $60 today.
And does she do that?
She quits about 450 in.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, that's quite a job for a 10-year-old to take.
Yeah, and I had her. I had to try and she'll sort once in a while for me, but 10-year-old gets bored with it, and I had her try taking pictures one time, and I had to redo most of them, but I got this new scanner, and she was happy and she did well with that. But my wife will help once in a while if I'm desperate and need stamps put on envelopes. She'll do that. She did sort about 2,000 or 3,000 postcards I bought a month or so ago that I cherry picked from a guy, and I had her sort those into states for me. But I want her to do my inventory, and I'm sure we'll get to this, but inventory management is one of my bigger problems, and I need a complete inventory done of what I have, and I think she'll do it, but she's reluctant, which I don't blame her. It's a horrible job to do.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to other people who sell, and they, kind of bring their kids in. But they're selling things that I think kids should get excited about. It seems like it'd be pretty difficult to get a 10-year-old girl excited about, postcards, old postcards.
Well, she's actually got a couple from that I've had her sort. She's like, oh, I like this. It might be an Easter card with some baby chicks coming in out of an egg or something like that. So go ahead and put that in your little collection. And she has 3 or 4,
yep,
or maybe even more postcards that I've pulled aside for her. Yeah.
Okay, so there's so many questions here, and what we like to do when we talk to someone that sells and that has a system, we like to figure out what that a system is. So, okay, so number one. We were talking a little bit earlier before we started this that you've been selling on eBay since the early days. So, like we always say, the Wild West days. So,
right.
Did you want to talk about how you got kind of started selling on eBay?
Sure. I joined in January of 1998, and the reason I joined was my screen name, Spinach Eater, goes back to Popeye, I joined the Navy right out of high school, and after Navy, I went to college, fraternity. Fraternity nickname was Popeye. So that's how Popeye came about. And I started collecting Popeye stuff. I'd go to auctions, antique markets, flea markets, and I'd start buying Popeye stuff. And I had, out of a 2-bedroom apartment, 1 bedroom was nothing but Popeye stuff.
So
And
you're like the perfect person for something like eBay because,
right.
yeah, okay.
All these Popeye things I never knew existed were in one place, and I started buying them. So that was in January '98. My then girlfriend, now wife, moved down to live with me, and yeah, I had to grow up and get rid of my Popeye collection. And I was getting kind of bored with it.
Yeah.
So I sold my entire collection piece by piece on eBay. And so that's how, after all those, that was probably in the summer to fall of '98. After all that was gone, I was like, oh, wow, that was great. What a great experience. I made more than what I spent on this stuff. And what can I sell next?
And those were the early days of, you didn't have to put photos. People would send you money in the mail, like cash.
Exactly.
Yeah,
well,
wow.
When I first started on eBay, now get this, I did not have a digital camera. So I would use my 35 millimeter camera and take pictures that way.
Wow.
Go get the film developed. And I didn't have a scanner, so I would take it to my brother who had a flatbed scanner. He would scan the pictures onto a floppy disk.
Wow.
And I'd get that disk back from him, and then I would upload that way.
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago, but it sounds like we're talking about the 1950s. It sounds like that kind of technology.
It was very archaic back then. You didn't have PayPal.
Yep.
So you would always get checks or money orders, which were no problem. There used to be a company that if someone from another country wanted to buy from you, they would use their credit card to buy a money order from this company. This company would then take fees out and then send you that money order. I can't remember the name of it, but it was stuff like that. Negatives, the days when you could give a negative to someone that you never had any interaction with.
Wow. And a seller could give a buyer negative, so there would be these wars, right, where people would do wars against each other. Yeah,
exactly. Someone would give me, I would give a negative for a bounced check, and then they would give me a negative right back.
Yep.
And some of my very first, or maybe my second or third feedback is from my wife saying that she had a pleasurable experience with this seller.
Now, just I don't want to spend too much time on this because we have postcards to talk about. But it seems like these days you find these people that pop up and they talk really badly about eBay because it's changed and it's not the way it was. It used to be so much better. Was it really better back then, or?
No, I don't think so. It's definitely evolved. It's gotten better. And with change, rules have to come in. I don't agree with all of them, but in order to be successful, you got to roll with them.
Right. And I mean, are there more people who are buying these days than there were back in 1998? I mean, was it true that you could put up anything on eBay and it would sell for ginormous amounts of money?
Yes, and that's actually how I got into the postcards. These postcards that I sold, I remember them. They went for ridiculous money. I used to go, when I started going to auctions to find what do I want to sell now, I would buy box lots of junk and started specializing in pottery and glassware and knickknacks and smalls. And then I started progressing into ephemera and FBI wanted posters, atlases, and stuff like that. And this one box of paper, I got maybe a dozen postcards. And I was like, I never sold postcards. Let me try it. And at the time, eBay was all auctions all the time. And I listed back then I used to list every item at $1.99 to start. Didn't matter what it was, there was no buy. I don't even know if there was buy it now. There might have been buy it now. But I had these postcards, a dozen of them, for $1.99. Every one of them sold for over $7.
Wow.
And I was hooked. That was a really good turnaround based on what I spent on that box. And
real quick, are we still talking about the early aughts?
Yeah, this was probably summer of '99 or so. I started getting into auctions fall of '98, and probably, spring, summer, fall of '99 is when I started going. I started leaning toward postcards and specializing in those.
Wow. Because I think it's because we will be talking mainly about postcards. So you started selling postcards mainly because it was the thing that was available? I mean, easily available?
It was, they were just, I hated packing. That was probably the thing. I hated taking all these pictures and packing up these bigger items. And the postcards they were cheap to buy. They were very easy to ship off, easy to store. My 12,500 postcards are on, a 6 shelving unit right by my desk. It's 2.5 feet wide by about 4 feet tall, and that's my active inventory right here at my fingertips. So, just storage requirements. My basement of my old house that I first lived in, or after the apartment, we moved into a house or a townhouse. The basement was just full of those dead piles you talk about. Yep. That stuff is like, ugh, I don't know if I want to sell this.
Yeah, where it looks like a junkyard inside of your house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So are you now? I mean, so it's 15 years. Later, it's still mainly postcards. Like if you're at an auction, if you don't get tempted to buy something else.
I was just at an auction several months ago. Mainly, I went there for the postcards, and there were 2 huge boxes of matchbook covers, which I've sold before and did very well on, and no one wanted these. So I probably got 2,000 to 3,000 matchbook covers that were all organized for $20. Wow. And I'll list those just like postcards, probably $3 or $4, $5 each.
Wow.
I just haven't listed them. But there was a box with an old tennis racket, and I was there with a guy who buys and sells stuff also, and we were looking at this tennis racket, and it just happened to be under the box where the postcards were, and after all the postcards were sold, they started selling that stuff. So I got 2 boxes of basically junk with this tennis racket for $5. So eventually someday I'll get to a tennis racket.
Right. But so you're pretty kind of laser focused that postcards is it. Like it's your niche and
that is. I stick with what I know.
Now, is it important? I mean, do you find that your success is based on because you're so laser focused and not kind of spread out a shotgun mentality, kind of it's like I have, that where we just sell anything and everything? Is that what helps you?
Yeah, I think so. I know what I'm selling. I know what to look for, which I imagine you guys do with your clothing, shoes and stuff. But I pretty much know what's going to sell, and I know how much I should pay for it, and reasonable expectation of what it will bring when it does eventually sell. I'm definitely not a expert in postcards. Just there were billions and billions of postcards manufactured, and there are niches. I have probably a dozen or more books just on postcards to help with identification and kind of see what some of these cards bring. And there's cards in these books that I've never seen, I've never come across, and probably never will. And I've handled millions and millions of cards.
I mean, one reason why, I think we do buy and sell all kinds of items, we've talked about this, is it keeps it fresh. So if we get tired of selling shoes, we're like, okay, well, let's start selling lamps. And then we just kind of bounce around. So after all these years, you're just not like, oh, another box of postcards. I don't.
No. I get excited when I get a box of postcards and I'm sorting through it, and there's a real photo postcard of a delivery wagon from the 19 teens, and I'm like, I get excited not only just because it's neat to look at that could have been a one of a kind postcard, but just at the potential money that this can bring.
Yep. Now, the first question people are probably asking themselves is, so how do you buy so many postcards? I mean, we go to quite a few auctions, and, we're out there. I mean, I'll see a small box, like a small handful, like someone's personal amount of postcards. But I mean, where do you get boxes and boxes of them?
I get do a lot of my sourcing on eBay. I found a guy with a collection of postcards up in New Jersey several months ago. He had, I think, 70 to 80,000 postcards.
Wow.
And I made the trip up there and bought out his collection.
I mean, he's like a hoarder.
Well,
kind of guy?
he was a guy, talking to him, he was a train collector guy, and I guess he went to an estate auction for a train collection, or went to some lady who was selling trains, and this lady with trains, it was her husband's collection, said, if you want all these trains, you got to take the postcards. And he had no interest in postcards. He was in there for the trains, so I bought out that collection. But
I mean, and just real quick, how much does it cost to buy 80,000 postcards?
About 10, that was about 10 cents a card. Actually, I got these 70 to 80,000 cards. Of course, I couldn't count them all, but just a real good guesstimation. It was that much, and it was $7,400 for all these cards.
Wow. And where does that fit? Like, is that in the trunk of a car? Like, how many?
That was 2 cars. My wife came up with me.
Wow.
We had 2 cars. I probably could have got them all in my car, but it would definitely been a lot of weight in there. 100 postcards weighs about a pound, or a pound is equal to about 100 postcards.
Got it. So 80,000 would be 8,000 pounds.
Or 800 pounds, or it was a lot.
Yeah.
And just they were all in binders.
Gotcha.
So I'm still going through those. I have probably about half of them.
Now, these days, would you say that that's the way that you source, is just like every so often doing a big score, and that's just more than enough to keep you going?
I'm always buying, always buying, because a lot of my sourcing is from eBay, and I look for lots of postcards from people who don't normally sell postcards.
Right. Now, when, I've seen stuff like that where I've seen a big lot and they just kind of take like, a single picture of just like a pile of postcards. Are you just taking a gamble? Or do you see like, there's that one postcard, that's it,
I've done that. I've seen one postcard and I'm like, I think I'm going to buy this lot.
Right.
And normally on eBay, I don't spend more than about 25 cents per card is my cutoff. And I try to get them much cheaper than that. And I hit or miss. I think I more hits than misses, but I've purchased some duds before.
So, I mean, if you purchase, why don't we stick it with the example of 80,000 postcards? Like, what percentage of those do you think are like, wow, these are really good postcards? 10%?
Yeah, probably on that lot, maybe 10%.
Yeah. But 10% is plenty to make all your money back.
Yes, because most definitely, because that one, just to use an example, that card with, it was actually a cement company from somewhere in Pennsylvania, and it sold for like $55. So here's a card out of that lot that I, 10 cents a piece for, and one card sold for $55. The only other card I've listed from that lot so far was a Hong Kong card, a real photo from a street scene in Hong Kong, and that's sold for, I think, $50. So I'm almost there. $100 off of 2 cards out of this lot. So.
Yeah. Well, so why don't we do that now? So let's talk about your process for a listing. So you're going to do your 2 hours before you go to bed of work. I mean, do you have a stack of 10 cards and just photograph and list those 10 cards? Like, how's that work?
Well, I have these, I sent you pictures and you can feel free to use them on the site, but I have these, they're shoe organizers. And there are 25 slots in each shoe organizer, and I have 2 of them, so that's 50, and that's one for each state. And then I have another one, I think 15 slots in it, and that's for, I divide out foreign countries, topical cards, holidays, people, stuff like that. So when I'm ready to list, I just grab a stack from one of those states, and it's usually wherever I have room in my active inventory boxes. like right now, New York. My next lot will probably be New York. So I just grab a stack of New York cards. I used to take a stack of like 250 to work with me, and over my lunch hour, I was able to take photographs of these 250 cards front and back.
On your iPhone or on your phone?
No, actually, just a regular digital camera.
Okay.
And but the lighting wasn't. It was okay, and I would always take them to work to photograph because the lighting was better there than it is here at home. I could just never get the lighting correct anywhere in this house. And then just about 2-3 weeks ago, I'm always looking to change my process. What can I do to make this quicker, better, cheaper, faster? And I found a scanner, a top-load scanner, and I'm able to put probably a stack of 15 postcards in this scanner, and it'll scan front and back within just seconds, each card. In fact, I tested it over the weekend. I scanned 100 postcards in 8 minutes.
Huh. So instead of taking photos, it's just pure scanner, and it's right on your computer. It's ready to go.
Exactly, and I don't have to do with the pictures. It was always, it was too dark or too light, and I'd have to hit like that instant fix in the photo editing, and it would always just throw the color off a little bit of the card, and the color on these scans, it's pretty true to life. Now, I don't have to do any changes.
So when you scan one postcard, it's just front and back, so it's two photographs that get posted on eBay.
Yes, just the 2 pictures. And I heard you talking about eBay liking 3 pictures, and I don't know how I'm going to get a 3rd picture.
Yeah.
It's not needed.
Right. I mean, and I'm sure other people selling postcards also aren't putting up multiple photos, so I'm sure you guys are all on a level playing field.
Right. I will take a 3rd picture once in a while if I have a real photo postcard and there's something interesting on the street scene, or I can show a more close-up picture of something on that postcard. I'll take a macro shot of the card, and that will be a 3rd picture, but it's very rare.
So, I don't want to, again, get too into the weeds, but I do like these kind of details. So when you're scanning, you scan front and back, then on your computer, do you have to then go and make a folder, and then you put those 2 photos in the folder and then scan the next, or do you just scan them all and figure it out later?
I scan them all into the one folder.
Right.
It's by a date.
Right.
And then when I'm listing, either Turbo Lister or this new program I started with, 6-bit. Once you open up, once you search that file out for that very first listing, the next time your next listing and you hit add photos, it goes directly to that folder where your photos are. And I just go down the list. Or just go down the file and there's my photos and just enter them that way.
And why do you use some other software? Why not just list right on eBay? I mean, it's so simple.
Just because I'm listing so much. The auctions that ended, I think 2 weeks ago, I had 700 auctions. Just because I list so much that individual listing one and then listing another one on eBay itself, I just never got into that. So I started with Turbo Lister.
Yeah.
And I can do an item and just have to change the title, add a new picture, and then just hit duplicate.
Okay.
And then that's why I sort by states.
Right.
When I would have a stack of 100 postcards, and the top postcard would be Alabama, the next postcard would be, say, Wyoming. I have to change the store category. I have to change the category in eBay itself. So there's a lot of changes. So I just keep it a stack of states. Yeah. So I just do Alabama, then hit duplicate Alabama until I get to Arkansas or whatever's next.
Yeah, I mean, we actually do almost the same thing where we do things in lots. So I'll do 20 sweaters, and we also do the same thing where I take photos of everything, and then they go into a folder of photos, and then Ryan will list those. So I find that that's much more efficient, kind of like what you're talking about. Like, just take photographs, just focus on that, and then just a list.
Just list.
I feel like it goes faster. I don't know how people can do that where they can be efficient and like, take a photograph and then go over and list it and then start over,
Yeah, I can't do that. With Turbo Lister, I can get about 25 to 30 items done in an hour, maybe a little bit more. And then with that's 6-bit, and I have no affiliation with 6-bit. I'm just looking for a better, quicker way to do things, and it led me to them. And I did my best is like 55 postcards in an hour.
Wow.
And so it's on a Saturday. If I just do nothing but listing, I can get 200-300 postcards ready to go for whenever I want to upload them.
So, one question is, I know that a 6-bit, and again, I don't have anything to do with it either, but I remember reading about it, that it's a good program if you have people work for you, because they can like log into your account but not have access to your financials or whatever. Why don't you hire people? I mean, it seems like it'd be a perfect business for that.
I don't think I'm there yet.
Yep.
The 12,000 items I have right now, it's manageable. Just me doing it, a couple hours a night, and I'm sure we'll get into my week. I can go into that whenever you want, but that couple hours a night, that's enough for me to pack up what has sold for the day and list more. So right now, I think I could probably go to 25,000. I think by myself. And that's one of my goals by the time I retire, that to be about there. And if I get into the 50, 60,000, I will probably have to hire someone. Well, not probably. I will have to hire someone at that time.
Okay. So it's not any particular reason other than just like it's doing fine by itself, and because we're like that too. We don't hire anyone to help us just because really we just at this point just think hiring someone just feels like more work. You have to manage someone and train them and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do. It's just,
Right. Yeah, I've thought about it after listening to some of your podcasts about one of the sellers. I think it was about hiring a photographer to take pictures. All these dental books that I still have in my garage. When I was taking pictures, that's 12 pictures of one book, and you'd have to do certain, front cover, back cover, spine, inside pictures that are interesting. It's a lot of work. So I have thought about maybe hiring someone just to take pictures of those dental books, because it's a real good moneymaker. But taking the pictures, that I lost interest in it.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. I just think we're going to look back at this time. It's just such a incredible time of being able to find, so much, more inventory than each you can handle and sell so much,
Right.
I mean, it's amazing.
And that's why I keep buying. Again, there were billions of postcards made, but they get tossed every day. And they don't make these postcards like these ones anymore. You get these big jumbo ones. I don't even know if people really send money postcards anymore, not like they did back in the 1900s. So these are getting harder to find, and you are starting to pay more and more for them.
Okay, so this is where, I get excited about, because, we sell in a similar way where it's kind of a list it and forget it idea, right? Like you list it and you aren't stressed out if that one postcard from Alabama doesn't sell within a month. You list it and it's going to sell at some point, right?
Yeah, I think so. I opened my store specifically for post. Well, I've sold postcards for a long time, but I got an anchor store back in July of 2012. So 4 years, and I still have postcards in my boxes that were some of my first listings. And I'm still selling them.
Right. And so I guess I just need some help here, because, we have people come on our blog, and they're probably very smart business people, and they don't understand, I think, the kind of business that we run on eBay. They're just like, why would you want inventory to sit? Why don't you lower your price? Why don't you want this stuff to move? The fact that your inventory keeps growing means you aren't selling enough, that it's a bad business. Why doesn't that make sense to you?
I don't know. I just know that they take up little to no room. They don't spoil. They don't go bad.
It doesn't cost you anything, so it's not like there's a lot of money tied up in the inventory.
Right. Even even with I get the 10,000 free listings, so I'm paying for I don't know, I guess a couple thousand listings at a nickel each.
Right.
So even if there's one of these cards I'm paying a nickel for, that's 60 cents a year.
Right.
So I've had it for, we'll say 4 years. So what's that? That's $2.40. It cost me 12 cents to buy.
Right.
If it sells for $5.99 after fees, I've still made a buck or two.
And you know what? It might sell for $40. I mean, and the other reason why I'm sure with postcards is kind of like a lot of stuff we sell. You can't sell the stuff quickly, no matter how hard you try.
Right.
Like it's not about price. This is not a price sensitive, item. This is you're waiting for that person that wants that street scene of some small town in Alabama. But
exactly.
It might take 4 years for that person to do a Google search to find you.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I wish that two of them would have shown up at the same time when I had it at auction, instead of 4 years later when I have it on sale for $3.99.
Right. So then why don't we talk about that? Now, we're all about no auctions, like, especially on long tail items. Like, just put the price you want and wait. Maybe make offer if you want to have a wiggle room, but really putting an auction doesn't make sense. But you do a lot of auctions. I mean, how do you?
I do.
Yeah.
Just one reason I get 1,000 free every month.
Right.
And I really hate giving eBay anything for free. There were a couple months when maybe I just upgraded to Anchor Store. I can't remember when they changed it. We got the 10,000 listings and 1,000 auctions. The first month or two, I only used maybe 250 auctions. I was like, oh, that's $75 I'm giving eBay right there. So I really made a conscious effort to use up my 1,000 auctions, and I do list some postcards and auctions that I know I won't even get the $5.99 out of it that I begin to list it for. But then there's auctions that I listed for $5.99 thinking I'm only going to get the $5.99, and then boom, it's an $80 postcard.
Right. So every week, are you doing 1,000 auctions? Is that or every month?
About every month, I'm trying to do 1,000 auctions.
So why don't we say in a month, and you put up 1,000 auctions? How many of those auctions actually sell? Can you do an average or?
Well, I can give you the auctions. I just had 200 items at auction that ended Sunday, and I think I sold 70 of those.
So I mean that's like 2/3. That's
a little less than half.
Yeah.
Yeah. And out of those, say 70 that sold, and that's I'm guessing, but that seems just what I packed up. That seems like how many it was. And out of those 70, I probably had 20 to 25 that had multiple bidders.
Okay, so like a third of them sell, and then a third of the ones that sell are going for more than the opening price.
Exactly. Yeah. And I have started some of these older postcards. I look at them as like, okay, this isn't a $5.99 postcard. I'll bump it up to $9.99 if it sells for $9.99. Hell, I only paid 12 cents for it.
Right.
I'm happy with $5.99. Very happy with $9.99. Ecstatic when it hits $50, $60, $80.
So if eBay said auctions are totally free, all auctions, would you put the whole store on auction if you could?
Yeah, if it was free listings, yeah, I probably would, and just keep relisting them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just all auction all the time.
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah, why not? If eBay's giving it, I'm taking it.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, and then your average price per card then is $5.99 is kind of like it's your average, and then
that's where I start. Yeah.
Okay, I do. It's want to talk about the different prices, but let's first understand the big question: why do buyers pay money? Especially big money for postcards. Period. Question.
Yeah. I think it's. I think everybody's like a historian, especially about their hometown. I think those big items or those cards that sell for big money, they have some relationship with that scene, and they're collecting something very specific some of the holiday Santa cards can go for big money, but mostly the street scenes. I think that scene may not be there anymore. In a case of point with the horse-drawn delivery wagons, you don't see those at all. And some of those postcards are one of a kind, but they may identify with that scene.
Well, I think that's a really beautiful way to put it, is that people are buying these not for collecting, like, I got to collect them all kind of like thing. It's more about they are historians, and I think we have to make sure people aren't thinking of postcards like the holiday postcard, maybe not so much like the holiday postcard that someone sent to their granddaughter. These are more the ones I'm thinking, like for my small town. Mm-hmm. I actually collect postcards from my small town because what I'm looking for are really photographs that were put on a postcard.
Right.
So
exactly.
I get to see the buildings that it used to be there, or I get to see people who used to be in my town, like standing there with a horse. It's just amazing, and you can't find those anywhere. So it doesn't really matter that it's a postcard. It's about a photo that happened to be put on a postcard.
Right, and it's a personal attachment to that card. I've had people contact me and say, "Oh, my parents or my grandparents used to own this motel or used to own this store." I just had someone contact me the other day. It's like, this postcard, my parents were married in that church, and I'm putting together something for their anniversary. And I have these postcards from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It's these from the fire department, and the scene on this card is this house burning, and a guy contacted me, said, "That's my house." Wow. This was Christmas Eve, and you can see in the postcard that there's Christmas decorations. It's like, this is Christmas Eve. We just got back from church. We were asleep and got woken up by fire. And so this guy's buying a postcard of his house burning from when he was a kid. Yeah. So there's an attachment.
Yeah.
Attachment there.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't quite understand what the mentality was back in the day. Like, a lot of postcards that I can find of my town that are exciting are the ones from, like, the early turn of the 20th century. So, like, early 1900s. And they'll just be like a picture of a bridge. And this is just like a little tiny bridge. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing on the bridge. I mean, I don't know why someone thought to take a picture of it and put it on a postcard, other than the fact that maybe back then that was a big deal. Like, this is the bridge,
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of bridge postcards, and I've done well with out of Havre de Grace, Maryland. There's a bridge across I think it's the Susquehanna, a railroad bridge, and I've sold those cards of this railroad bridge for $30-$40 before. Wow. It is a bridge,
right? And and so that's why I'm trying to get people to understand why people pay big money for this stuff, is because a lot of these things you can't find anywhere. I mean, I've spent up to $20-something for a postcard because I'm like, I will never see this again. I bet this old hotel that isn't there anymore. It's so awesome. I've got to have it. And I'll get into a bidding war with somebody. Right.
I like that.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm finding now that some of the newer, they're called chrome cards, produced from the late 40s, mostly around the 50s. The color, they look like a photo, or like a normal today's photograph, but they have like the 1950s cars with lots of chrome and fins and that 1950s look. And I think you figure people who drove those cars in the 1950s, they're in their 60s, 70s, 80s now.
Yep.
And those cards go really well for me, even some better than some of the older ones. These newer chrome cards, which a lot of postcard sellers don't really sell, and that's how one of my sources is this lady who sells on eBay, but she only sells those older postcards, older holidays. And I once bought a lot of, like, 5,000 cards from her. After I questioned her, it's like, I see you sell postcards. These are chrome postcards. Don't you sell those? She said, no, I hate them. So she only lived about an hour up the road from me. So after these 5,000, I ended up buying another 15,000 cards from her, and they were all chrome. And of course, there were some that she missed that were those older cards that did really well for me. But I did extremely well with these old 1950s cards.
Because people in the 70s and 80s, they are just sitting around enjoying their life and just wanting to think back to, I guess, their childhood, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Huh. That's interesting. Now, we also have kind of thrown some words around about postcards that I think are good to talk about. So, RPP, which is a real photo postcard, right? Did I say that right?
It's RPPC, RPPC.
Yep. And so why is that different from another kind of postcard?
Well, it's pretty much what it says. It's a real photograph, and there's a couple different varieties of real photo postcards. There are ones that were the photographers back in the late, we'll say 1900s, where they actually traveled around with their camera and developing gear in their horse-drawn wagon, and maybe took a picture or a photo of a town, maybe only produced 50 to 100 cards, and they're real photograph. They're developed one at a time. And then some of the newer ones you get to 1940s, 50s, even into the 60s, they're more mass-produced. They're still actual photographs, but they're more mass-produced. They're not an old-time photographer doing the baths for developing their photos one at a time.
And then on the back of the photo is a postcard. It looks like a postcard where you write stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you can date those. There's websites out there that the stamp boxes where the stamp goes. There's the manufacturers put little, I guess their trademarks in there, and you can actually date postcards. If there's no stamp, nothing, no date written on it, you can date by the stamp box.
Right. And and I guess for people to understand, how this business works for postcards, this is how I can imagine it. So for instance, I have a search out for my county and my town, so it's the name and postcard. So anytime someone were to ever post a postcard that had that name on it, I would get an alert. So then I would follow that auction, or if it's a buy it now, I would buy it if I want to. And I know there's about 4 or 5 other people in my area that do the exact same thing, because I'm bidding against the same people. And I can imagine that's true for all over the country,
It is. When I go to find postcards, and I go to antique malls and stuff like that, I have a list with me with every state on it, and on that under each state is what towns sell the best. And I also have a list of just generally what sells. Funeral homes sell really well, Route 66, stuff like that. And I'm always searching for particular states, cities, stuff like that.
But those are topics that I would think would have a much larger audience. But even just I can't imagine there be more than 5 people on the entire planet Earth that would want a postcard of my small town, who would buy it on eBay.
Right.
But there's 4 or 5 of us, so if you find one of these, and put them online, one of us will probably buy it, So I think that's what's interesting is it's the exact idea of what long tail items are,
Right. And that's one of the reasons I try to research every card that I put up. And it's because I'm trying to figure out, am I going to have a bidding war on this postcard, or is there just one person looking for this postcard? Right. And if it's a half decent card and there's only one person, I may, instead of starting that auction at $5.99, I may start it at $9.99. Again, if it sells for $9.99, I'm happy. But if there's a whole bunch of bidders, I still may start it higher and hope it goes even higher at auction.
Huh. Yeah, because that's the thing. Is there more than one person, or is it just a single person?
Right.
Now the other question I had was, so are modern postcards at all important, or was there a cutoff where no one cares about postcards after a certain time period?
I think some of the newer cards, they're called continental cards. They're like the 4x6 size, 4 inches by 6 inches. The older cards are around 3.5 by, I think, 5.5, somewhere along those lines. But the newer ones, 4x6 and even bigger than that. I don't like them. I've sold some of them. Mostly the best continental cards I've had are Hong Kong. I don't know what it is. The Chinese people, people from Hong Kong, they will pay a lot of money for Hong Kong cards from the 1980s.
Well, I guess, I mean, I think that's still the historical kind of like people being historians.
Right.
Since Hong Kong did the big change.
Right.
It's probably so much different now under, the Chinese government instead of under England. So.
Right. But that's a lot in my my dead piles too, where a lot of those a lot of the Continental cards that, I'm not going to get much for those because I really try to avoid those as much as possible.
Right. And so when you're determining the value of postcards, do most of them have some kind of identification, like it'll have a name of the hotel or it's whatever?
Yes, most of them do. And what I'll do is if I find like a hotel or a motel that has a street address, I'll look up that street address. And I'll see if that hotel's still or motel's still there. And I'll put that in the listing sometime. I just have listed a lot of Atlantic City postcards from the teens to the 40s, and I'll search for that street address. And if it's not there, I put torn down, now Trump Taj Mahal or something like that. And I think that helps. Some of the real photos, if I can identify them easily, I'll search out that street view on Google Maps and take a screen cap of it. Like, okay, this is what it looked like in 1907. This is what it looks like today.
Yep. And how can you tell if a postcard is a photo and it's not just a print?
Sure. I have a loop or a magnifying glass. Real photo postcard, it's going to be very crisp. You're going to see a lot of detail under the loop. With a printed postcard, you're going to see the print mark, the squiggles, dots, stuff like that. And even some of it's pretty easy. There are some older lithos that it's kind of hard to tell if it's a real photo or a litho print, but usually it's the paper. Yep. You can always tilt the real photo, tilt it into light, and that silver gelatin or whatever process they use, it kind of reflects the light back. So you can tell. And if I'm never not sure, it's like I'll say this kind of looks. I won't list it in the title as a real photo, but in the description, it's like this might be. It's just one of those cards I can't tell.
So are you focusing on selling postcards rather than also photographs because the postcards normally have some kind of identifying text on it, and the postcards are just random,
Yeah, the photo. I have some. Again, they've come in lots of postcards, and there'll be some pictures. I need to. I'll buy it if it's identifiable, or if the art or if the photographer is listed on it somehow. I did purposely buy some photos of. I think the guy's name is Hayes or Haynes. Mm-hmm. He was a well-known photographer out in Yellowstone, and I got some real actual photographs that he took. But for me to buy just a photo to sell, it has to have something interesting in it. Maybe a house with, I don't know, like a funeral hearse in front of it or something like that. A store with a Coca-Cola sign, someone's grandmother on a beach, or on a couch in her Sunday best. It just doesn't do anything for me. And I don't think it does much for anybody else. And I think those would probably just sit. So it has to be known subject, or at least something visually interesting.
So a postcard is basically a photo with identifiable information for the person. Okay.
Yeah, that's an easy way.
That's a pretty easy way to say it. And does it matter if the postcard has anything written on it? Like, is it more valuable, less valuable?
I don't think it really matters. And I think there are some collectors that kind of maybe want a little bit of ink on it to show that it's used. It just gives it, some of them, character. Now, if it obliterates the scene on the front, then no, that's not worth anything.
But as far as on the back, someone wrote a note to somebody else, that doesn't matter if it's on there.
No, and there are times that I use that note to help sell the card. I've come across cards with like secret codes written in code.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I've had them written in Morse code before, and then I sold one recently that it just had this. I don't think it was shorthand. It was just this code, and that's how I listed it. It was like, postcard with coded message.
Huh.
And then one of my shocker cards was it was just this picture of an old folks home, and the message on the back was just so sad that this lady who wrote this card was pretty much saying, "I'm here to die."
Wow.
And it was it just hit you. And I listed it as, some morbid message or something like that. And that card went for like $50.
Wow.
And I would have normally, that'd been a $3 or $4 card. So sometimes the back helps sell the front.
I mean, how often a month does a card sell for its $50? Is that like very rare, or is that?
No, not this month. The last 2 months when I list at auction, I've had some really, really good cards go over $100.
Wow.
And those ones I kind of know. I might start them at $24.99 or something like that. But yeah, this last 2 months I've probably had 20 to 30 cards or more go for 40, 50 or more.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I was lucky to have this. It was a litho card from 1907 from a place in New Jersey, and it went for auction at 70 some odd dollars, and I just happened to have an extra copy sent by the same person, exact same date, same view, everything, and I contacted the second bidder. I was like, I have the exact same card. Do you want it for your bid? So I sold 2 cards, one for 77, one for like 76 or 75. Wow. It's just amazing.
That is amazing. Now, if it's okay, we'll post those photos on your on the blog.
Yeah, absolutely.
With this podcast here of your inventory system, and like as you said, it's pretty compact. But how are you organizing it? As you said, by state. But what happens if it's not of a particular state, or
I have a box with I call it holiday and miscellaneous, and I have just these postcard dividers. They're pretty much just tabs. And I have people, Christmas, Easter, Valentine's, patriotic, artisan. So I just put those cards in a particular tab. And if they don't fit into any certain category, I do have like a miscellaneous. But for states, it's each state has its own section. And like some Pennsylvania and California, they both are spread over 2 boxes. And then I just go alphabetical in those boxes, and if it's if I have a city within that state that has more than 5 cards, it'll get its own tab because and the reason I do that is just when I sell a card, I have to find that card, and that's where some of my problems are with inventory control. If I misfile a Vermont card somewhere else, I don't want to spend. That's a long time to go through 25 or 12,500 cards to find this missing card.
I mean, how often does it happen?
With some of the older cards, probably I'll say about once a month. So once every 500 cards or so, I'll be like, I can't find this card.
Yeah.
And mostly hopefully it's within that same box. But there are times that I actually sold on 2 other sites. One was called BidStart, and the other one's delcamp.net. And there'll be times there's one time I sold a card on BidStart. It was a Vermont card. I couldn't find it. And several months later, it was probably about 8 months later, I was pulling out New Hampshire cards, and boom, I found that card.
Wow.
So I had already refunded that seller or that buyer his money, but what I do in those when I mess up like that, you got to make it right. So what I did is the guy already got his money back, but I still had his contact information, and I wrote him back. I said, "Hey, I just let you know that that Vermont card was on vacation in New Hampshire. I'm sending it to you."
Yep.
Because I want to make things right. I think I go over the top with trying to make sure that people, if I mess up, I make it right.
So normally when you sell an item and you have to pull it out of inventory, you probably don't have to go through more than like 100 cards to find it, right? Because it's in the category.
Yeah, 100 is. I do have some sections that I need to break down further. I have like Tennessee. I only have it I think I have Nashville broken out, and then every other town in Nashville under one category. And there's probably 150 cards, and I just haven't gotten in there and broken it down by alphabet, and Memphis and stuff like that.
I mean, when we talk on the blog about inventory, how you set up your inventory. I mean, our inventory system sounds about the exact same. I mean, but instead of boxes of cards, we just have plastic bins of different items, and we just have, each category. And if one category gets too big, we break it down even more. And so we never have to go through more than 20 or 30 items to find the one we want to find.
Right.
So we don't need a numbering a system like some people talk about. I mean, if that works for them, good. But I find like ours is like yours, and it kind of makes sense.
Right. I couldn't do a numbering system with postcards.
Yeah.
And when I list auctions, I keep as I'm listing them, I just keep them in a stack on my desk until the auctions end. So I have, like last week, I still had last week's and this week's, or I'm sorry, the previous week's and last week's cards at its auction still on my desk. I had almost 1,000 cards on my desk. but what I do is, as I get bids on them, I'll pull those cards out. Right. And usually Sunday, I start listing auctions about 8:00 Sunday evening, and so about 7:00, I'll pull out all the other cards that have bids on at that time. So, I might have like that one a couple weeks ago. I sold over 100 items at auction, but I already had 60 or 70 of them pulled and ready to go for when they paid. So it just helped with inventory control and packing and shipping.
So did you start on Sunday night at 8, so it ends Sunday night at 8, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep. I've heard Sunday nights everyone's gonna find that magic time that's to end their auctions.
Yeah, that works for me. Sunday night, I'm packing. I'm sorry, Sunday night is the stuff's listing, and I'm watching the stuff end. Monday, I'll pack up. Monday, all I do is pack up postcards, and Tuesday, I'm packing up what's left over. Because also Monday night, I'll relist as buy it nows the stuff that hasn't sold at auction, and some of that will sell on Monday. So Tuesday, I'm still packing. Then Tuesday, Wednesday is when I start listing or getting listings ready, and I'll do that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and all the way up till Sunday. The auctions are going. We're getting ready to list, and I'll be packing up as I need to, because I sell probably about 20 postcards a day.
Wow.
Just that aren't on auction, so about 20 cards a day.
Yep. Now, before we talk about how it just shipped, because I think it's going to be interesting to hear how that works. Mm-hmm. You mentioned two other sites that you also have items on, and that's BidStart and DelCamp.net.
Yeah.
Why do you sell other places? Does it work?
I actually stopped BidStart. What I liked about both these sites is you could sync your eBay listings with these sites. So it really wasn't a whole bunch extra work. It was just hit a button, gotcha. Yeah. And my eBay stuff syncs to these other sites. BidStart had a problem where they weren't syncing my auctions. And on BidStart, I was selling maybe, I don't know, 3 cards a month. It wasn't very productive. And
these are both sites that are specific for like ephemera and like autographs and collectible stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That DelCamp.net, it's more worldwide. At any given point, eBay has maybe 1.7 to 2.1 million postcards. And again, this DelCamp.net has 40 million postcards.
Wow!
But it's more for foreign postcards.
Yeah.
So I have boxes and boxes of foreign postcards. That's one of my goals, is to eventually I'll put just my foreign postcards on DelCamp.net and deal with the foreign buyers over there.
So that's probably a site run by people in another country, in Europe or something.
Yeah, I think it's Sweden, Switzerland. Okay. It's somewhere over there.
Okay. Yeah.
Netherlands, maybe.
Yep. Yeah, I always wondered why eBay allows these other companies to come on the scene and let their sellers sync their stores up, on other sites.
I'm sure eBay will figure out a way to make money on it somehow.
Yeah,
That'll be coming in the fall seller update, maybe.
I mean, I'm glad they do it because we sync to a couple sites. But yeah, like you, we find just no one. Everyone wants to be the eBay killer, and I have not seen anyone even come close, except for Amazon, I guess. But they're selling such different kinds of stuff than eBay is.
Right, and I think that Delcamp, I think again they specialize toward foreign buyers and sellers.
Right.
So I think that's why they're maybe better at postcards than eBay.
So currently, you're mainly focusing on the American scene, American postcards, just because it's more, it's where we are.
I have a box of foreign cards. Canada does really well. I like selling to Canada. The UK, I get a lot of business from Europe, UK, Spain, stuff like that. And I've sold to other countries. I have some blocked just because, Italy is a black hole. You never know if anything is going to, at least for me, I've never had a good experience with Italy. And I think I'm going to have to start thinking about blocking Australia because I don't know what's up with Australia, but I've not had.
I mean, because when you mail them there, they get lost or something, or
right? Because I'm sure we'll talk about it, but probably 95% of my cards, I don't put tracking on. It's a postage stamp. So
let's talk about this. So all of us, we have to deal with. We have to become serious shipping nerds. You have to learn how to pack big items, how to figure out if it goes in flat rate or in a box, and how to double box so things don't break. You have like the beauty of you take a postcard and you just put it in a letter size envelope in a stamp, and that's it.
Pretty much. Again, it's a process change. I used to use these big cardboard mailers that I had to get extra postage for. And then I progressed down to it's an A6 envelope. It's an invitation size envelope. And then I would put a rigid postcard mailer inside that envelope. Still got away with a regular first class postage stamp. And just thinking, how can I do this cheaper? I was able to find these they're stay flat cardboard mailers. I buy them off of eBay. Cost me about a nickel a piece, and there's enough rigidity in them that it protects the card.
Yep. They
don't get mangled in the feeders or whatever post office uses, and it just takes a first class stamp. And what I do is I'll do pretty much any card that sells for under $25. That's how it's shipped because I'm shipping for free, and I buy all my postage stamps from eBay sellers. So instead of paying 47 cents at the post office, I'm buying postage for like 38 cents a stamp.
Why is that?
Just these sellers, and I don't want to ask any questions where they got these stamps, but the less I know, maybe the better.
Right. They're selling them under value. That's interesting.
Yes, so I haven't paid full price for a postage stamp for quite a while. So
could you? I mean, just real quick, could you print a label that was a stamp that gave you a discount? Or?
I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could get it down to 38 cents. My shipping cost per postcard is under 50 cents.
Wow.
So that's why I offer free shipping. Okay, unless it's like a $25 postcard. And I still ship for free, and I'll eat that $2.45. Again, because I'm ecstatic that a card that I bought for 12 cents sold for $25.
Right.
But also, I think just people want something for free.
Yeah.
So I list all my postcards at $5.99, but that same postcard, someone else may have it for $4.99, but a dollar shipping.
Right.
So technically you're paying the same price, but I think mentality and psychologically people are thinking, I just got free shipping on this postcard.
And do you handwrite the address?
No, I have a label printer, a Brother label printer that will print just the mailing address. or it will print. If I buy postage, it'll spit out I think it's like a 3-inch by 7-inch tape postage label.
So so is that hooked up to eBay, or how does it know the address?
Yeah, it's hooked up to eBay. When I hit,
It is.
hit eBay labels, or buy postage off eBay, I'll do it that. And that's actually kind of how I found your site. And I've only been on your site for, a couple weeks now, but I was looking, since I print so many labels. Before it was, I had to cut and paste, and all I need is just the label or the mailing address. I don't do tracking. I don't need that whole shipping label. I just want the address.
Right.
And I was searching and searching and searching, trying to find out how can I mass print just the address label. And I was searching how to find, I'm not sure if I found it on your site, but I decided to stay because of everything else.
Right.
So I don't know if I've got my answer there, but that's leading back to that 6-bit. 6-bit lets you bulk print just the address.
So you don't actually have to buy any postage through eBay labels. It just allows you to do wow, that's cool.
Yeah. And that's, it does, that 6-bit does cost per month, but just, I think the time that I save, instead of cutting and pasting, 70 address labels and printing them one at a time, those 70 address labels print out in just a matter of minutes.
Now, I love this part here, because I think many of us who sell on eBay, we get it's like we're in school and you want to be the good student and you want to be top-rated seller, and then people are like, if you aren't top-rated seller, you're never going to be successful because eBay will jam you down. So you obviously don't care. You've never been top-rated seller because you don't have tracking, and that's the important part about, and so it doesn't matter, right?
It does not bother me in the least. I think the hoops that people have to jump through, and I'd probably jump through those same hoops, but it's just, I don't think it's worth it. What do you get? 20% off your final value fee?
Yeah.
So my final value fee on a $6 postcard is what, I guess around 57 cents or so. Right. 20% of 57, what's that? Yeah. 12, 15 cents. Now, that would add up over time, but I don't want to sell a $5.99 postcard and then tack on $3 shipping, right? Because that just kind of blows out. So I think I make up what I lose in final value fees. I think I make that up just by people thinking I got this shipped for free and I'm going to buy more.
But I think my bigger point that I want people to take away is you can never be top-rated a seller, and eBay doesn't put you down in the rankings, I mean, as far as we can see, because you sell all the time. So that's not something that's important, really.
No. I'm not really one of those conspiracy theorists, but I think eBay has some rolling brownout problems sometimes, because there'll be days that, I have 8,000 at the time, 8 or 10,000 postcards. I don't sell a single postcard all day. And I'm thinking, okay. And then my next 3 sales are all Hawaii postcards to 3 different people. Right. And I haven't sold a Hawaii postcard in months.
Okay. I'm going to put you on a leash here, but I am, it's curious. Why would eBay? I mean, it seems like it's more complicated. Why would they have a rolling brownout?
I don't know. It just that's what I call it. Actually, when I talk to my wife about this, I'm like, oh, eBay shut the tap off, or eBay opened a tap full blast because I just sold 40 postcards today.
I mean. To me, I think I'm amazed that you sell as much as you do. These just random. I mean, it's just so insane that you can sell so many random little pieces of paper that are so kind of rare and vintage. That there's that many people out there always searching and buying from you. Yeah, that to me is more amazing.
It does. It boggles my mind every day when I buy something for a dime and I sell it for over $100. It's just It just amazes me. It's a piece of paper.
Yep. So there's more and more people selling online, especially on Amazon, and people are getting into and mainly they're into buying brand new items, and I mean, so none of that is interesting to you, is it?
No, but I have bought that stuff, and I look out. Back a few years ago, the Hot Christmas item was a Leap Pad or something like it. It was like a mini iPad for kids. Right. You couldn't find them anywhere. And I belonged. I'm a Prime person on Amazon, and Amazon would always get stock of the, get them in stock. You had to watch out for it. So I had alerts set up whenever this item came in stock on Amazon. I would buy a Elite Pad for $99, and I would have it listed immediately because I knew Amazon would get it to me in 2 days, and I would sell it for $200 around Christmas time. And then a few years ago, I don't know if you remember, Walmart had some type of glitch. One of their programmers put a whole bunch of stuff on sale, on ridiculous sale, and it was lasted for a couple hours. And they didn't catch. People were walking out of Walmart with, big screen TVs for $10, stuff like that. I was able to buy 26 video games that were normally $100. I got them for $17 each.
Wow.
And immediately turned around and sold them for like $60.
Huh. Okay. So
I look for stuff like that. But postcards are my main thing.
Right. So it sounds like then you'll sell anything. It's just this happens to be a niche that works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, if I'm walking by something and I like, or if I come across a deal like that, I'll take an easy dollar anytime. But this is just what I know and what I'm good at. Now,
just to kind of wrap it up on the shipping part, because it sounds very simple. So when you sell it within America, how many cards get lost every year? I mean,
I'm not sure about every year, but it's probably about one out of every 500 cards I think is lost. Maybe more like one out of 1,000. But I get those people. eBay says this should have been here in 4 days. And it's a holiday weekend, and I'm just okay. It didn't get there. Please, with all the post office closings, mail does not get across town in 1 day anymore.
Right.
Please, could you just wait an extra week? And normally, it shows up. No, that's okay. It'll normally show up.
Right, but I mean, because it doesn't have tracking on it, though, it seems like it would be ripe for people to rip you off. They're like, it never came, and you have no proof, and they could have it right in their hand, and they're laughing at you. Does that happen?
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And usually what I do is I hate when people open cases against me, that I didn't, it's not been received. I was like, okay, well, could you please just wait a little bit? And then if it goes on, and most people will wait, but those people that push it and say, I didn't get it. It's like, well, it hasn't been returned to me. Yeah, I understand some things get lost, but you could have just sent me a message that says, hey, just let you know this hasn't shown up yet. But there's something about opening that case against me. I normally end up blocking them. If I refund their money, and I don't know if that's right or not, but I figure, well, okay, it maybe was lost, or you just got a postcard for free, but I'm not going to take that chance again.
I think that's totally fair. If someone's giving you hassle, you just turn the tap off. They, even if it did get lost in the mail, if they're being rude to us, then we're just like, we don't want to sell it to you. So
right.
So that just shows just the amazing honesty of people. If it's 1 in 1,000 postcards of having a problem, that's incredible.
Yeah, and I usually what I'll do is like, okay, hey, I refunded your money. I just let you know that sometimes it's going to take 4 weeks or so to get to you, but I'll go ahead and refund your money. This just happened to me, and hey, that guy was honest. That card eventually showed up, and he actually repaid for that card. But you don't have to. But I'm just letting you know if it shows up. Could you send it back this way?
Has anyone ever done that?
A few have. But again, it's cost of doing business. Stuff gets lost. Again, it's I lost out on the 12 cents that card originally cost, but I have lost out on a couple bucks, and that. I'm not worried about it. I think the biggest card or the most valuable card that I had to refund was maybe $12.
Yeah.
And I don't get returns. I've had one return in probably 2 years.
Wow.
And that was my problem. I actually had 2 postcards that were very similar, and as I'm picking these to pack, I just grabbed the first one that looked like what was on the screen,
right.
And it was just slightly different. And the guy immediately opened a case, and wanted to send it back for a refund. And normally I would have been like, okay, I'm sorry, I sent you the wrong card. Keep it. Do whatever you want with it. And then I'll resend the correct card. You usually put that with tracking. And I'll take a loss on that.
Yeah. I mean, but John, I think that's anyone hearing this, especially if they're new. I mean, they just need to take away a message that if you want to run a successful eBay business, there'll always be problems, there'll always be glitches, there'll always be customers that are grumpy or maybe even have bad intentions. But it's so rare, and you just have to
deal with it. Yeah, you deal with it because they'll
throw some money at them. Here, take it, and then be gone.
Yeah, and for me, it's a business loss, and it comes out of tax time, and it's not that big of a deal. And knock on wood, I've appeased everybody, and no negative feedbacks for lost items or stuff like that.
Wow. Do you have competitors? Like, is the postcard selling scene on eBay pretty small?
I think there's a lot of postcards. If you go to at least people with stores that specialize in postcards, there's probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 or more. But people who sell postcards full time, there's a couple sellers on there. One's Refried Jeans, and another one's, I think, Mike in Greensboro. These people have 65 to 70,000 postcards on at one time. And I've reached out when I'm trying to figure out what do you guys do that I can take away to improve and get up there. And only one of them got back to me, and because they're probably just too busy doing postcards. Right. But this lady said that she has like 65. She may be up to 70,000 cards, but she has 3 people packing for her, and they work about 80 man hours a week just packing postcards. And she's selling 100 cards a day and making $800 or more a day.
Right. So are you keeping an eye on these other 30, 40 postcard sellers just to see how they're doing things and what postcards are selling well?
I do. I keep an eye out what they're selling them for, how they're listing them. A lot of them use that eBay file exchange, and I think that's just beyond my technological capabilities. And just for me, for research, because I got to know what sells, and I always go to their completed auctions. It's like, wow, they got that much money for that postcard, and I'll just file it away in my head, and it's like when I come across that postcard, it's like, where have I? Oh yeah, that's a good postcard, or I'll write it down that this card sells really well. So I'm always researching. I'm always trying to educate myself on what sells and what doesn't sell.
That's what I love about eBay. I mean, Amazon's kind of like this too. I mean, but the transparency. I mean, really, you can't beat it. Like, I can't think of another business where you can look into your competitor, quote unquote, its business and just see what works or doesn't work for them. Right.
And I'm not jealous of them. Hey, I'm happy for them. I hope they sell it all, because, that'll be, hey, if you want to buy postcards, go to eBay. And then if that seller doesn't have it, well, maybe Popeye's Postcards does have it.
Right. I mean, I want more people to be selling on eBay, because it means the buyers will come because we have all this stuff,
Exactly.
Like that's the good thing.
Right.
So we're going kind of long here, but I'm interested, and I'm assuming people hearing this are interested. So I has a handful of more questions for you.
Sure. I love talking about eBay, and I love talking about selling postcards on eBay.
All right, good. And hopefully people hearing us right now are themselves either photographing or listing right now or packing. The last question on shipping. So if you're shipping so much, I mean, how do you balance that? It seems like that's a lot of time to ship the postcards. How do you find time to list?
That's just normal part of the day. If I have 20 postcards, well, Monday, that's all I'm doing is shipping, because I'll have 70 to 100 postcards to ship, and that'll take me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But on a normal course of night, if I sold 20 postcards, that may only take a half an hour to pull them. I slip them into the cardboard mailer and throw they're already pre-addressed and pre-stamped with a postage stamp. I just have to put them in the mailer and put a mailing address label on it, and I'm
So, I
done.
mean, it could take you half an hour or something to do a bunch of them.
Maybe, yeah. It doesn't take long at all.
Yep. Okay. Well, that's cool.
And then I know I hear you guys talking about why I have to schedule package pickup and stuff like that. Everything I sell, even if I'm putting them in bubble, I put them in bubble mailers. I just slip them in the post office box on my way to work in the morning.
Yeah, or even right. I mean, I can really see why that would be a very attractive business. With especially being a one-man band.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have to worry about bubble wrap and the right box, and I ran out of the air bubble, the big bubble bags of air.
Right.
It's just yuck. I have that stuff in case I sell something big, but I hate it. Ugh.
Now, I feel that no one can deny that what you do is cool if you're making $5,000 extra dollars a month, but some people might be like, I mean, are you kind of do you think you have hoarding tendencies at all, or obsessive compulsiveness? I mean, it's really amazing, that you live in this world and it excites you, because I mean, I can tell it's exciting for you.
Yeah, I've always been one of those people that I can't sit still. I cannot sit and watch television all evening. It just I just cannot do it. I get it from my dad. My brothers all have it. We all have to be doing something. And I'm like, I used to, when I took a break from eBay when my daughter was born, and I found myself playing these online video games, and I would waste hours shooting teenagers. And I was like, what is it? What am I doing? And so now I spend hours on eBay, and I'm bringing in money that will, just awesome.
I think that's a great way to put it, because it really is. I mean, the way I see our eBay business, it is like a big puzzle, or multiple puzzles all tied in. So every day it's about solving the puzzle and kind of keeping it going and keeping the flow going. And it is exciting to us.
Yeah. I love it. I just some of the stuff I've learned, and that's, if I ever get sidetracked listing, it's because I found an interesting card and I research it on Wikipedia or something. And I start reading all about it, about this scene, about this person, and I get sidetracked, and I just start reading about the history of something.
But that's important, and again, if anyone new is hearing this, that's exactly how we learn. I mean, we're always in a process of learning, and that hour that we quote unquote waste, reading about some weird niche topic, is then new information's in my brain. So when I'm at an auction and I see it, I know exactly what it is, And I wonder if, if you say, you can't sit still, I wonder if that's just kind of a sign of our modern day, where maybe back in the day when we might have been farming, we would have been the guys, who were always, doing some kind of chore on the farm because the farm had to keep on going, but we don't have farms anymore. So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I sit all day at my real job, which I get to retire from in a couple years. And that's an interesting job that I do. But I think I have more fun doing this, and I just can't wait to, it's kind of my pressure relief from my real job, and I just enjoy this. I don't mind it a bit.
Yep. I mean, are there like conventions that you can go to for postcards, or did you ever meet people in person and talk about this stuff?
I don't think there's postcard shows.
Okay.
But I've never been to a postcard show. Believe it or not, I've sold postcards for 17 years. I've never been to a postcard show.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. And there's some big ones. One of the world's largest postcard dealers is just Mary Martin. She's up in Havre de Grace, Maryland, which is a couple hours from me. Yeah. They hold big postcard shows, and I've never been to them. But I have met people. One of my sources, he has a couple 100,000 postcards in his house. I got hooked up with him, and I'll just sit at his kitchen table and cherry pick cards while he's going through his postcards, and we'll just sit and talk about them. He's 80 years old, retired, and he just loves postcards.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So let's talk about that. So if you have a
Sure,
full-time job,
I do.
and if it's a KSA, it's a government job. So the reason why that's important is because if you get the pension, if you stick it out long enough, and that's what you're doing, right?
Yes, and the job that I'm in, pretty stressful. I work with some not so nice people, and because of that, I can retire after 20 years if I want to, but I have to retire. It's mandatory retirement at age 57.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
mandatory at 57.
Hmm.
So I'm going to be 48 here in a couple weeks, and in about 3 years, I can retire if I want to with a pretty incredible pension. And the federal government has a really nice 401k program, which I've been
Yep.
dumping money into it since I've been employed. And so I'm really thinking that, in 3 to 3.5 years, I'm going to retire and get my pension and sell on eBay full time.
I mean, I think that's one thing why it's so cool that you've invested all this time in eBay is that I think a lot of guys they have a job that they work a long time, and when they retire they don't have anything to do. They have
I,
dreams of playing golf or whatever, but then they just get bored. You're not going to be bored at all. I mean,
no, I'm so excited.
you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. And so it's everything's going to be in place in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
That, and who knows if I'm doing 12,500 cards and I'm doing it, probably average with weekends, 3 or 4 hours a day. What can I do
I
when I'm
know.
8 hours a day
Right.
or more?
And maybe you might feel like hiring someone because you'll be at home and could monitor them and all that.
Right. And again, with 40, 50, 60,000 postcards, I probably would have to hire someone, or I might just keep it at 25,000 and
Yep.
just be here by myself. I
Yep.
don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm really looking forward to that in 1,172 days from now.
Yep. Yeah, I see that you got the countdown.
I
Yeah.
have a little countdown
Yeah.
clock here on my desk, just counting down the days.
That's so awesome. Now, for you, are you pure? I mean, obviously, money is important, and
Right.
that's is reward for this. But is it purely like I got to make more money, or is it more like just trying to make your time interesting?
It's just how much more can I make? It's not.
Right.
I guess I really probably don't need it. And it's just nice to have. And
Sure.
we don't. I make sure my family wants for nothing, and I make sure I use this for experiences and vacations, and
Yep.
it's pretty much play money.
Yep.
But it could be, it's enough to support me full time if I wanted to, but it's really just, again, play money.
Right.
It's
I mean, yeah. So if you're just to do the it's math for people. If you're making 60 plus $1,000 a year, grossing, I guess.
Yeah,
So that's good money, and that's just on top of your actual salary. And I don't know if
right.
your wife works too.
Yeah,
I
she
mean,
does.
so is it really just being spent on just making life good for you
Eh,
guys? Like,
Yeah, and I'm
that's good.
putting some of it away, and like I said, I put in an in-ground swimming pool with the dental book profits, and it's just it's just play money.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
I,
awesome.
yeah, but obviously when I retire, that has to replace
Right.
what I'm making
Right.
now.
But I mean, are you? And I don't want to get too personal, but are
Yeah.
you living with not a lot of debt? Are you the kind of
Oh
person that
no,
likes?
I have debt, so it does help pay for some debt. But I should clarify that I'm also putting it back into eBay
Right.
business too. So I'm always buying stock, yeah, stuff to sell in the future.
Right. Yep. Now,
So
how does your wife feel about all of this? I mean, obviously, she must like it or not mind it if it's been 17 years.
I don't know. I haven't seen her for about 15 of those, but no, I don't think she minds because she benefits.
Yep.
We don't argue about that about much. But I hope she doesn't mind. I think she would tell me if she did, but
Yeah.
I would hope maybe someday that maybe she could be the person I hire, and she could, maybe quit her job because she doesn't get to retire at 51. She has to work a little bit longer, but maybe she won't have to work as long.
I mean, does she want to not work at her job? Because I could totally see the two of you working on this eBay business together with your pension would do fine.
Yeah, maybe she. I think she likes what she does, and she needs the social aspect of that. And I get some of the people I not my coworkers, but some of the other people I deal with. I don't want to deal with them.
Right.
So.
Yep.
But I think she's supportive.
Cool.
Again, at least I hope she is.
Yep. Yeah, I know. I mean,
but I think I take care of. Even though I'm working on this a couple hours a night, I'm still taking care of other family responsibilities. Like I said, I'm the main cook in my house and help my daughter with her homework. So
I bet I can imagine she's like, man, I know husbands that are out drinking and gambling and everything else. So if he's just down there selling on eBay, no problem.
Yeah. Are you? Oh, so you're going to a postcard auction? Yeah. Right. No, I really am, because I came home with 1,000 postcards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you would mention that I'd heard of it, but I'd never really, understood how it works. So PayPal has a program called Working Capital.
Yeah.
And, and neither of us have anything, we aren't associated with this. But it's interesting. So it's like a borrowing program, right, against your funds? Yeah,
it's pretty much almost like a business loan type of program through PayPal. I've used it a couple times, and it's mostly when I know I'm getting ready to buy a decent amount of postcard stock. You make an application on PayPal, and I don't know what formula they use. You have to put in information about yourself, your identifiers, and what kind of business and stuff like that. And somehow they go back and look at your sales over the past X number of months, and they come back and give you an offer. Say, okay, kind of based on your sales, we're going to offer you like a loan of like $4,000.
I mean, how much have you been able to borrow? Like $4,000?
I think the biggest one I did was 6.
6, okay.
Yeah, and then they say, okay, well, there's a couple ways you can pay. It's all, you pay it back through your sale. So when someone pays you through PayPal, when they pay you through PayPal throughout the day, they kind of take X percentage of that, and then that goes to pay the loan. But what they do, say on that $6,000, they will say, okay, if you want us to take only 10% of this loan, every time you sell something, we'll take 10% of it. We're going to charge you, I don't know, like $1,000 funding fee. If you want to say 20% of your sales is taken out every day, then we're only going to charge you a $600 fee. If you want 30% of your money going toward pay back this loan, we're only going to charge you like a $300 funding fee. So that's how they make their money, is on that funding fee.
Got it.
And since I just kind of really need that money like short term, I do the 30%. So the shortest amount. And then I've been known to, I pay back more as I go. If I've sold $1,000 worth of postcards, they're going to take 300 of that, but I may give them an extra 200 or 300 just to pay that down quicker. Yep. And it doesn't show up on your credit check or anything like that. It's just kind of like a short-term loan. I'm sure there's other ones out there, but this just showed up one time. It's like, oh, you know what? I want to go buy some more postcards, or buy, I buy hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of postage stamps at a time. Right. And I was like, well, I need that. I need some mailers. So I'll just try it. And it's in your PayPal account instantaneously. Wow. And I pay it back in a couple of months. And if I need another one, it's there.
Yep. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I know there are other companies. I think one's called Cabbage. I don't know if they're still around. I've always thought that could be a very dangerous game, but
it could be if you get money and you don't pay it. But they put it in there. If you don't, you have to pay back. I think it's 10% every quarter or something like that. And I'm well beyond that. So you could get into trouble if if your eBay sells tank or something like that. But you obviously with anything, you don't take out more than you can pay back.
Right, and hopefully you're taking that money out to invest back into the business and not just buying a jet ski or something.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I think there's a disclaimer on there that you got to use it for your business and stuff like that, and they can see. Well, I just bought. Okay, I borrowed $6,000 from you, but I just bought $4,000 worth of postcards or stamps or something like that. So it's just interesting. It's there. I consider it another tool to help expand the business.
That's that's very interesting. I mean, especially someone like you that is going out and spending several $1,000s on a lot of postcards. Like, it's easier for us because we're never. I think if we spend $400, like, that would be a lot of money for us to spend on inventory.
Yeah, and you got to look at quantity too. That $7,000 is 70,000 postcards, and yeah, I look at it. Each of those postcards is potentially $100 postcard. And it won't happen that way, but there's always that potential. At least it's a $3 or $4 postcard.
Yep. And then I guess one last question I had about postcards. So, if you have 70,000 postcards, a lot of the postcards we find just seem kind of junky. They're just like touristy postcards. I mean, what do you do with those? Do you just
those
pile somewhere?
They're still on the shelves. But the only ones and I don't know truthfully, I don't know what to do with them because no one's going to buy them that way. But it's along the similar lines, just generic Christmas greetings with just a tree on, not even a Christmas tree, just a tree or a Easter. I will throw those. I'll throw those in a lot of 2,100 holiday cards. And still sell them for 17 cents a card or something like that. And I think people buy them. I think they may be thinking that they're gonna cherry pick out the dressed duck at Easter or the Santa Claus. Well, I've already cherry picked those because I do sell those. But I think they use them for arts and crafts and stuff like that. But and they can see I'm a postcard seller, so they think they could pretty much deduct that there's not going to be good cards in this lot.
Right.
But they still sell them. But the other ones, I gotta get rid of the 1,000 Niagara Falls and the beauty spot in North Carolina mountains. It just
so out of like those 80,000 that you bought, how many of those will you have to do that for? Do you think?
Probably. It could be half or more.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's just part of the business. Even though I paid 10 cents each for them, they're gonna go away somewhere somehow because there's not value in them. There might be value to someone. Someone might buy 1,000 Niagara Falls cards, but I just haven't found that out yet.
So does it drive you crazy to allow a box to not be unsearched through? I feel like that would be part of the hunt. Is like you just want a fresh box and you want to go through each one.
I
find
do
the gems,
I do, and that's what I do. If I get a lot of or a box of about 800 postcards in a normal postcard box, I'll cherry pick that quickly and pull out those gems.
Yep.
And then I'll put a label on it for first pull complete because I've done my first pull. And then, months and months or years later, I'll pull that box back off. And then that's when I'll go sit and watch television. But I'll have a box of postcards in my lap.
Yep.
And I'll sit and I'll go through, this is a good one. It's not bad. And then the beauty spot in North Carolina mountains and the Niagara Falls, that'll stay behind. But still out of that 800, I've pulled out maybe 30 or 40 that are great. And those 30 or 40, I'll triple, quadruple my money back easily.
Yeah.
And then it's that next probably 100 or 200 or 300. It's like, okay, these are my $4 and $5 cards. And then the rest are going to be, maybe a bulk lot for a dime or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what the percentage would be of buying something for 10 cents and selling it for, $10. I mean, I don't even know what the percent of
increase
profit that is. I mean, that's just 10,000% profit.
Well, on a $5.99 postcard, after I take out after eBay takes their fees, on a $5.99 postcard, I clear net $4.34.
Wow.
And that's a 3,650% increase in value or profit or whatever you want to call it. So it's
Right.
insane. And
Yeah.
if you get one for, again, you buy it for 12 cents, you can sell it for 100. Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. I mean, how many businesses are there other than illegal drugs that can make that kind of profit?
Right.
That's incredible.
And I know you guys get it too when you buy the shoes for $1 and you sell them for 30 or 40. That's
all day
awesome.
long.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Well, John, thanks so much for talking to us. Is there
Thank
anything
you.
else that we didn't kind of cover?
No, I don't think so. I love talking about eBay. I love talking about selling postcards. So if anybody has any questions, or even if they have a postcard, it's like, what do you think? Just shoot me an email or on the blog, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Cool. Yeah. When we post this, we encourage people to ask the questions on the post, and then hopefully you can stop by and answer them. So
excellent. Very good.
All right. See you, John.
Jay, thank you very much.
You got it. Bye.
Yeah, bye.